What's up, everyone? Usually I'm behind the camera, but this time I figured I'd do an in-cabin video. Today I'm going to be discussing my most recent modification I've done to the car, and what it is I purchased JBA silver ceramic coated Shorty headers. So basically I was just going to go over pretty much everything about them, why I chose JBA Shorties, how the installation went, and my impressions after the install. I guess the main reason I'm doing this is, so I can tell you, hey, is it worth it to get the JBA Shorties, or should you not waste your time and money and either don't do anything or go with long tube headers? So I'll start with why I chose to go with the JBA Shorties versus long tube headers. Really what it came down to for me is about a year and a half ago, I had purchased a used set of SRTA exhaust manifolds, which are essentially Shorty headers. I decided to actually hold off on going forward with putting those on, and instead decided to get high flow mid pipes, because after researching, it seemed like a lot of people were saying that the catalytic converters and mid pipes were actually the most restrictive part on the exhaust system. So I chose to sell the SRT8 manifolds that I had purchased and decided to buy JBA high flow mid pipes, catted mid pipes. I personally don't want to go non-catted. I don't ever want to run into emissions issues down the road. So what I'm getting at with all of this is basically, because I already had the high flow mid pipes on my car, thinking about headers, it made it pretty easy for me to decide to just go with the Shorty headers, because, well, A, they're like half the price of long tube headers, and B, I already had the high flow mid pipes. So I already took off the most restrictive part, and hopefully, taking off another restrictive part of the exhaust, I'd have, essentially what would be the SRTA exhaust manifolds, which again are stock Shorty headers pretty much. So that's why I decided to go with those. Ended up getting a great deal. They threw in the 6.1 exhaust manifold gaskets. I've always heard the JBA Shorty header gaskets are just garbage. Don't even waste your time with them. I also purchased the 6.1 exhaust manifold bolts to use, because they come stock with like a thread lock kind of deal on the thread, so you don't have to worry about them backing out or anything like that. I have looked into stage 8 bolts. I love the idea, great product, but it would have been a complete nightmare to put those on. So that's why I went with the stock bolts as well. So all in, I spent under $500 for the headers, the gaskets, and the bolts. But yes, I know long tube headers are always going to make more power. I've seen all the videos. I've researched headers since I bought the car. I've had headers on every single car I've ever owned. I do know about headers. I do know the long tubes are definitely going to make more power. But I already had the mid pipes. The headers arrived, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, which I'll put up a video of me unboxing them and my initial impressions of the quality of them. There's been a lot of talk about JBA headers and poor quality, bad welds, and they leak, and it's all been said about them. Yes, they're made in Mexico, they're not US made. What I like about them is they have the D-shaped ports, so they're going to match up nicely to the ports that are on there. As far as the quality of the JBA headers, when I unwrapped them, I was actually really impressed. They look great when I took them out. Just the coating looked good. I didn't see any issues with welding. If you're looking at a super high quality header like American Racing or Cook's, you might squall at the quality of the welds, but there was no holes in the welds. The flanges were straight. The collectors looked good. There was no issues with them whatsoever as far as dings or scratches or anything like that. I thought they looked really good. They would hold up well, so I wasn't scared of installing them. As far as the quality of the header went, when I got them, it was more about what I've heard about, how the install goes. on putting headers on. I like to try to do all of my performance parts myself. So far, the only thing I've had done by a shop on this car is the suspension. Otherwise, I've done all the other performance modifications myself. So I knew it was something that I could definitely handle. It was just a matter of dedicating an entire weekend of my time to put them on, because the book calls 8 hours. That's on a lift with power tools. I was quoted, you know, $600 to $1,000 by shops in the area. So that's why I decided, you know, hey, if this is all about budget for me, since I got such a great deal on everything, you know, why not do it myself, save some more money, put that money towards, you know, tuning and future modifications. And so that's what I did. I spent a good majority of a Friday and a good majority of a Saturday putting them on. In total, 12 hours over 2 days. And you can hear them a little bit. Yeah, that sounds good. Hopefully you can pick that up on the camera. Installation was tough. Not tough in the sense that a complicated process, tough in the sense that just getting to the bolts that you need to take out at a good angle to get enough torque on them to get them to break loose was by far the hardest part. I did follow the JBA instructions pretty closely. I've again researched the heck out of all the different installation tips, which I'll give you some tips at the end as far as what tools helped me out and you should definitely pick up if you want to do the install yourself. I did remove the motor mounts, one on each side at a time. I started on the driver's side, which I've heard is the easiest, and it definitely was easier than the passenger side. So the good is that you accomplish the driver's side and you think, oh, I could definitely do this. And it only took 4 hours only for the driver's side. The passenger side took 8 hours, so double. Reason being the starters on that side and the alternators on that side. So already with a really cramped space, now you have an even more cramped space, as well as other brackets you have to take off. Heat shield you have to take off of on the motor mount first. The motor mount on the passenger side is a 2-piece unit, whereas the driver's side is a 1-piece. So it's just more parts to take off, tighter space, which made it, a lot more. You have to shim the oil dipstick tube, which thankfully I had some spacers on hand that worked perfect for it, but the JBA stuff they supplied would not have worked as far as the shims go. So with that said, installation, like I said, pretty straightforward. 12 hours. I saved myself $600 to $1,000 to do it myself. But the best benefit from doing it myself is now I know how to do it. And if I do decide to, step up to long tube headers in the future, I know I can do it. I have to set, 2 days on the side for me to accomplish it, but I know how to do them. It'll probably even take less time now that these are on, because it's much easier to reach the bolts on the JBA Shorties versus the stock exhaust manifold blogs is what they call them on these cars. A couple of the bolts you cannot see with your eyes. You can only feel them with your hands, so you're basically blind wrenching on these things to get them off with the stock ones. So anyways, so tips as far as tools go, I did buy just a plug-in impact wrench, and I used that for a couple things. It didn't work for everything, but just to get the mid pipes off, got them off in the snap. Usually, it would take at least 20 minutes to get those off. I got them in like 5 minutes. And I did use it on, I believe, the motor mount bolts on the bottom. A couple things. So it did help, get those off quicker. What else? A pivoting head wrench, or a pivoting head ratchet, I should say. will be your new best friend when you're trying to reach some of those bolts to take off and to put on the exhaust manifolds. I mean, I don't know how I would have done it without them. Really, it would have been impossible, actually. Definitely want regular wrenches, you know, box wrenches to you know, reach some of the bolts. Nice Corvette. Is that Z06? Oh, sorry. Anyways, Grand Sport. Safety glasses, of course, because a lot of crap is falling in your eyes. I have contacts, and so you do want to have an O2 socket. So that's basically a socket with a slit in it so that it'll go around the wires of the O2 sensor. The driver's side I was able to leave in and take the whole thing out with the O2 sensor in it. Passenger side, I did have to take the O2 sensor out first before I yanked it out. So you want to have that socket so you don't struggle with a regular wrench to get an O2 sensor out. You don't want to strip it, you know, because that's going to be a big pain in the butt to get out. I did use a copper gasket kind of sealant between the headers and the mid pipes. It's actually in the JBA instructions to use something like that. And you take out every single, you know, extension, buy extra extensions, wobble extensions, you know, U-joint extensions, everything you can find that you will be able to manipulate around things to get bolts out. Buy. If you don't use them, return them. You know, but have them on hand, because the combination of extensions I had to use to get to certain bolts was ridiculous. You know, you do have to jack your engine up. You take the engine mount out, jack it up or down at various times to reach certain bolts. You're trying different angles. The last thing you want to do is strip out a bolt because you don't want to take the time to get good angle on it. So I think it's like 18 foot-pounds for the exhaust manifold bolts. You know, 18 foot-pounds is not a lot. They're aluminum heads. The key to it is, you know, go in a pattern starting from the middle out on each side, and then, you know, go back a couple times and just make sure that they're tight enough, but do not over tighten them. I mean, you do not want to strip out a bolt in your, you know, aluminum heads. So I'll move on to now, got them installed, then it's on to impressions of after installation. I knew what was in store for me. I wasn't going to get a huge increase in power. I wasn't going to get a huge increase in sound. I wasn't really going to notice much, and that's pretty much exactly what I noticed. Nothing. Overall, I really couldn't tell much of a difference at all. Research. Know that when you put these things on, the Shorty headers, you're not going to get, you know, 25 horsepower out of the bat, you know, just by plopping them on your car. It's not going to happen. The key to any header installation really is the tune. You know, I waited about 3 or 4 days to let the headers, you know, make sure everything was good as far as no exhaust leaks or issues with rattles or anything like that. And then I got in touch with Hemi Fever. He does all email tunes, of course, and so, you know, you send him your stock tune, and I already have a Diablo Predator. I was already running a 93 cold air tune. So you send him that, and then he sends back you know, one of his tweaked tunes. You load it onto your tuner, put it on the car, do some data logging, send it back to him. He tweaked it some more, sent it back. It's a process, you know, it went 2 or 3 times, and finally it got to the point where I started saying, okay, now I can feel the difference. You know, mid-range to up top, the car's definitely pulling harder. Is it mind-blowingly faster? No. I'm happy with what they did as far as giving me a little bit of extra punch, mid-range and up top. The car already felt fast to me. It feels a little faster. It's not, again, you know, night and day difference by any mean. It's, you know, definitely butt dyno kind of stuff going on as far as, you know, how much you can pick up. I didn't do any kind of dyno testing or anything like that. But there are a couple things that I did notice that definitely tell me that they're flowing better than the logs. And the fact that with the high flow mid pipes, my check engine light will come on every 1,000 miles. I'd use my tuner to turn it off, and then about 300 miles later, it'd come back on, use my tuner to reset it, and then it would be good for another 1,000 miles. After I installed the headers, immediately, I'd say maybe 2 miles after putting them on, my check engine light came on. I thought it might be the normal deal with, like, you know, what the mid pipes are doing. Well, You know, I reset it 5 miles later, the check engine light came back on. Reset it 5 miles later, check engine light came on. And so what that's telling me is that these things are definitely flowing better. What it's doing is the rear O2 sensors are picking up the difference in airflow. So that's telling me that, you know, they're worthwhile as far as, you know, moving air out of the engine. I put them on, and you know, I'd pop the hood to, you know, just look around, or I had to change my air filter the other day. I noticed that the engine bay is much cooler temperature-wise than it was with the siren or exhaust manifolds. And so, you know, whether that's, I'm assuming it's due to the silver ceramic coating keeping the heat inside, but that's always a good thing. You always want your engine bay to stay as cool as possible. So that was a nice little benefit I didn't expect. So that's, I know I've kind of rambled on here, but I kind of want to give all the details as far as what I've experienced. You have to have realistic expectations. If you're expecting to throw a pair of shorty headers on and like all of a sudden you're going to be keeping up with SRT8s, you know, it's not going to happen. You know, you're going to be disappointed. But you know, if you're just looking for a little extra mid-range and high-end, you know, pull, then yeah, they're worth it if you're doing the installation yourself. It's all, you know, relative to the cost. You know, if you're buying the shorties for $500 and then spending, you know, another $400 on mid-pipe, you know, high-flow mid-pipes, and then another $600 on installation, then it's probably not worth it. You know, just spend the extra money, get the log tubes to do it all at once. But I like to do things in steps and install things myself. So for me, it was worth it. You know, I did the high-flow mids first, enjoyed them for a year and a half, you know, then did the shorties, enjoying them now. And like I said, you know, I can enjoy them, and if I want to get more power down the road, I'll just throw on some long tubes and sell these, you know, in the classified section on a forum or something. I'm still kind of craving a little more sound for my car. Right now, I have a Flowmaster Force 2 catback, and you know, I do love this catback. I always love the sound of Flowmasters. It does give you some drone at certain RPMs in auto mode. You know, if I'm shifting through like I'm doing right now with auto stick, no, it doesn't. But you know, in automatic mode, if you're cruising around at 60 miles an hour and you give it a little gas, you're getting drone. Not a huge amount, but enough where you know, I'm not a huge fan of it. The exhaust I'm looking at is a Corsa Extreme. Everyone that's ever had a Corsa, from what I've understand, has loved it. You know, the videos of them, it sounds awesome. And no drone. They're expensive though. So that's probably my next step is Corsa Extreme catback. And then I'll be done with the exhaust until I decide to spend more money and do long tubes someday. So yeah, I guess to summarize, you know, if you're doing the install yourself and you want to do it in steps, I highly recommend going with the JBA high flow mid pipes first, and then the headers down the road, the shorty headers. You know, I think it's a great way to increase some performance a little, you know, bit at a time, without having to throw out, you know, a couple $1,000s, you know, on long tubes. Or, you know, I would not recommend getting the high flow mid pipes and the shorty headers together and have them installed by someone. If you're going to do that, spend the extra money and get the long tubes put on. You know, if you want that immediate power, if you like to do things in steps, then it's a great idea. That makes sense. I don't know if it does or not. I might just be contradicting myself here, but okay, let's do a nice highway pull here from 60, so you can, I'll shut up and so you can hear what it sounds like. So, you know, exhaust-wise, JBA Shorty ceramic coated headers, JBA high-flow catted mid-pipes, Force 2, Flowmaster Force 2 catback is what I got going on right now. Good sounding, good performance, just looking for a little bit more sound and a little less drone, and I think the Corsa is going to be my ticket for that. So, thanks for watching. I hope it was somewhat informational for some people that might be, you know, debating on whether they want to do the shorties or not, and might have thoroughly confused some more people. I don't know. But anyways, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll do a follow-up video soon with the Corsa exhaust.